I feel that everything you tell me about has a process to it. Make a solution, put it in a bottle, let it out, or then there's this.
Not that much science to it.
But it really feels like it as an outsider looking in that you've got to.
I know what you mean.
Like
it can feel there's so much, so it feels so overwhelming. It's like, but you just take it one step at a time. Like when I'm talking to people that just wanting to get into foraging, they find it daunting. And just start with dandelions in the spring. There's so many ways to use a dandelion, from the root to the greens to the buds to the flower. It's like just start with that, and you'll realize, wow, I made like 8 different things, and I got preserves from this one plant, and it's only the middle of May. I know it seems like a lot, but most of it's quite simple. I mean, if it was really hard and scientific, I wouldn't do it.
I just
it's not me, you know.
I just picture your kitchen like a science lab, and there's jars of things, and things are boiling on the stove for days, and
there's a bit of that for sure. You know,
it reminds me of that wizard from Lord of the Rings. The one who's like squirreled away, and
I'm a bit of a hobbit, definitely. Yeah, I can associate with that.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Taking Action podcast. I am your host, Michael Allen. Today, I'm joined by my co-host, Ryan Peaton, as well as our guest, Shawn Dawson. Shawn Dawson is a local foraging expert. He owns the Barking Kettle, and he is an author of the Forager's Dinner. Shawn, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys.
We're excited to get into it. We've been chatting already. So, Shawn, before we get too much into everything, how did you get into foraging in the first place?
Been asked this a lot over the years, and most thing I think of, I've always been into foraging. Like my passion has always been picking berries and going out on the beach, picking mussels with my brother up at my grandmother's place. So I spent a lot of time at my grandmother's in Calvert on the Southern Shore when I grew up. And most every weekend I was up there. I went to school there for a few years, but yeah, that was my favorite thing. I would just go up there. I couldn't wait to go up and pick berries or go down to the beach and get mussels or raid my aunt's plum trees, or it was just, without knowing them, my fascination was always finding food.
Right. So, how did you learn, like, what's safe to eat? Is it just trial and error?
No, definitely not trial and error. Not the best way to get into it.
How many times did you have a bit of a close call?
Never, man. Never.
No?
And I always tell people, like, I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, and if I can do it, anyone can do it.
Yeah.
It's just like, you got to be completely positive what you're going to eat before you ever eat it. Like, when in doubt, do not put it in your mouth. Is what it's lived by.
Yeah.
But years ago, it was like, without thinking, it was just berries. Like, there's no huge tradition of picking wild plants besides dandelions in Newfoundland. Like, a lot of these traditions came over with the Eastern Europeans, like picking nettles and mushrooms. And I mean, when I grew up, my mom would always tell me to leave mushrooms alone, like, because I was so into picking berries. So it wasn't like a really big thing. Like, I always knew my mom or my nan or someone would always tell me, like, not to pick blue bead lilies and nightshade, like the creeping nightshade berries and stuff like that. So it wasn't like very risky, it didn't feel like, but the more I got into it, just came from self-interest. I started gardening when I was a teenager. Like, I always worked gardening and landscaping jobs, so I grew up eating dandelions. My family always had them with Jig's dinner, so like that was my introduction to it. But when I started gardening, I was always hauling weeds out of the people's gardens, and I was just went to a rabbit hole. Like, what are these things that I'm hauling out and putting into compost or throwing out are edible? So I started eating dandelions and chickweed and whatever I can get my hands on, lamb's quarters, things like that. And back then it was cutting down the grocery bills a lot as well. So which is very important now more than ever.
Absolutely.
So just without realizing, I was just always so passionate about what grows here and what, picking it and bringing it home. And when you have association with something, you just harvest it and you're going to go home and cook it. It's so much different than going to the grocery store and buying something.
Absolutely.
You can't trace its origins to.
Yeah.
So
right.
So when did foraging become cool?
Well, when I first got into going to the markets and stuff, I had a few people tell me I should be in the water for it, because like I was like trying to sell Japanese knotweed and sting nettles, and people were like, "Buddy, you're crack."
Yeah.
But somewhere along the last,
because that's invasive, right?
Yeah, like a lot of the things that I'm picking in the spring and making things with is a lot of them are invasive species, like dandelions and nettles and knotweed and fireweed, all these things, river mints, all these invasive species. So
No, I meant that question sincerely as well, because I've heard of foraging before, of course.
Yeah.
never really knew anybody who foraged, and I've heard of picking dandelions or chanterelle mushrooms or things like that, but you just take it to a whole new level. And it just seems like one day I heard your name, the next day I met you at the farmer's market. I mean, this was over a period of time. The next minute I did a walking foraging tour with you, and then you've got a book out, and don't you provide some foraged goods to even some local restaurants?
Yeah, that's how I got into like writing a book and doing all this stuff, was selling things to the restaurants. Well, go back to your question before I trail off.
Sure.
Yeah, somewhere in the last decade it became cool, I think. So it's very trendy for the last while, but like, what a cool thing to be trendy. It's going out and collecting food for yourself.
I gotta tell you, I absolutely love it, and I have this natural inclination to move toward gardening and growing my own food anyway. So the fact that I've been introduced to you now and your book, I feel like I'm really going to be able to start putting some healthier food on my family's table,
I love to hear that.
Yeah, it's a huge priority. Yeah. And I mean, if you can cut down on the grocery bill,
totally, man. Everything about it is good. It's good for you. Cut down on the grocery bill. It's good for your health. It's not shipped here. I mean, more important than ever than to shop local with the threat of tariffs and everything. Right. So, and for your mental health, for me, it's literally the best thing. So, like, I mean, you're having a bad day and you go out and pick berries. It's like, it just goes away.
Yeah, it makes everything better.
Oh my God, man. So it's just for your whole being. Like, foraging is a healthy activity. But to get back to your question, like, a lot of Newfoundlanders say is like, I grew up here, I've never heard of foraging or foraging. Did you ever go blueberry picking? Like, yeah, of course. And that's foraging. Did you ever go raspberry picking, or even out fishing? Like, Newfoundlanders grew up fishing cod. Like, you're collecting wild food. So it's I think it's a really amazing thing that it's finally becoming a trendy thing.
I gotta say now, as you're on the show, and I imagine foraging is just getting more popular anyway, I love that you in your book talk about how to forage responsibly and how you shouldn't pillage everything that's in that area. Leave a certain amount. I think you suggest a quarter.
It depends what, like you mentioned, invasive species, like things like dandelion fireweed are like some of the best sources for bees, but they're invasive species. So, I mean,
you're not going to kill them off.
No, man. You pick whatever you can, whatever you're willing to process.
Right.
But like things like berries, you want to leave enough for animals to eat and spread. My rule is like, even when you're picking mushrooms, it's like, try to leave half. I'm only going for the really nice looking ones, or ones that are not bug touched, and you kind of leave those to do their thing, and you're gonna let them spread spores. And so it's always such a good thing to be conscious about when you're going out and harvesting, is to leave enough and do it in a way that I mean, you want to go back there year after year. You don't want to just be like, oh, I found a great patch of something, but I picked it all and now it's gone. So
Right.
So let me ask you this: do you think that, do you look at foraging as a business, or is it just part of who you are? Like, how do you think about foraging in your mind? Do you think that I have to get up and go to work today? I have to produce so much to sell to make an income, or is it just like that's
always in my mind, because like it's full-time gig. I'm working more than full-time hours. But it's not the most lucrative gig. So it's not something where I'm ever gonna have a new vehicle probably, or like get a mortgage on a house or anything like that. But I, like you said, I go to work every day without thinking that I'm going to work. And then and even when I'm at my busiest in like the mushroom season and stuff, I can't wait to get out of bed and get out in the woods, So like, I think that's a good trade-off for me. That it is my business, so I definitely do got to work harder than I would at a regular job to be able to pay rent and insurance and all these things. So it is in my mind that I can't just go around, piss off in the woods and do what I want. Like, I got to pick mushrooms for so many restaurants, the farmers market, preserve stuff to sell in the winter time. So it's a very busy job, but I love it.
That was a question I had, actually, is, so it's obviously seasonal. How do you go about preserving what you catch?
That's like some of the best part about it, is getting home, picking things and going home and preserving it. But I sell a lot of pickles. I'm like really big into pickles, and I got really into fermenting this foraging's got me really into fermented food. So like making dandelion capers in the spring, and do a lot of pickled fiddleheads, and still make a lot of jams and jellies and things like that. So I'm always processing something. Years ago when I first got into it, I was doing it a lot more. Just to there wasn't as many restaurants that were buying local like wild food, so that was one thing I had to try to figure out how to make an income from it. So I was doing a lot more bottling and packaging and things like that. But now most every restaurant's using wild mushrooms and whatever they can get from Newfoundland, which is awesome.
I love that.
Yeah.
Really? So when you say most every restaurant, you mean most every local restaurant?
Yeah, man.
That's probably in the downtown sector.
Yep.
That what's your, how do I put this? What's your sales pitch to them, or do they call you?
Well, it used to be a hard go, man. You were knocking on back doors and seeing if people would buy mushrooms or whatever you had, and you know, sometimes people would buy like 2 or 3 pounds, and sometimes people were just not into it. They had their menu, but it's because of the chefs that I'm able to do this, that they're so passionate about cooking what grows in Newfoundland. I think half the reason some of these guys are chefs because they're just passionate about cooking the food that comes from this province.
Yeah, it's
so it really
unique.
inspired me when I started going to restaurants like down at Raymond's. Peter Burt was down there buying mushrooms off me at the time, one of the first people, and he was like, "Man, do you ever see?" I was selling them chanterelles, and he was, "Do you ever see winter chanterelles and sweet tooths and hedgehogs?" And I was just like, "There's more mushrooms than chanterelle." So then that like just put me down a rabbit hole of like what else is out here.
Yeah.
Right.
So his passion of and then when you come in and bring stuff in, like I've learned so much from the chefs that you bring them in something last week and you come back and they got something beautiful made out of it. You're like, oh my god, that makes me feel so good.
Do they ever give you like
oh my god
some samples? Like, hey, listen, I
that's
took
part
this
of the
in.
job, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Good.
I mean, I've tried every dessert Celeste has had on the menu at Raymond's and Portage, and you know, I'm not even a dessert guy, but I love her desserts. They're never too sweet, and she's always using like root vegetables and lots of wild food and stuff. So yeah, man, it's my favorite part. I mean, I go down to Merchant Tavern and Nick down there. He's every time I go down there, he's like, "What do you want to eat?" So it's like it's pretty awesome. Like you're always getting to try something.
That's a wicked perk of the job.
Oh, it's the best, man. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
it's
amazing.
the best.
I got a two-parter question for you here. The first question is foraging inconsistent? Like, can you go out to the same locations and predict how much is going to be there, or is it just kind of up in the air?
It depends on the season. Like, I know you just mentioned that foraging seasonal, but like even what we're drinking right now is chaga I picked last week. So and the alder pepper I just picked it last week as well. So there's always something every time of year you can harvest.
Well, this is actually really interesting. We can just take a side note here. Can you explain to us what this is?
So this is the flowers that are out on the alder tree. In the spring, they look like caterpillars hanging from the tree.
Yeah.
It's like the flower when it opens, but right now they look like little long pepper, like long green pepper, and yeah, it's just the flower grows right from the fall, and all winter it grows. On the warmer days, it'll plump up, and so I just go out and harvest those. Very aromatic. There's a lot of resin on them, so they make your hands super sticky when you're picking them. So yeah, when I go pick them and I come back and dehydrate them, put them in the dehydrator or put them by the wood stove, and then throw them through the food processor to grind them up. And I don't know if you guys smelled it, but it's a very florally, peppery smell. It got notes of like woodsy notes with pine, citrus even.
Yeah, I'd love
so it's just like a really pepper. It's a good pepper substitute, but
oh, it smells so good.
yeah, it's really good, and it's a good source of protein as well. So,
Wow.
I like to call it moose steroids.
Moose.
I mean, moose are only eating plants, you know, and
Yeah.
they're getting big. Yeah.
So okay, some business.
I think you're gonna ask what I'm gonna ask.
Some business questions about
Yeah.
the production of this.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not what I was gonna. Before you ask that question,
Okay.
what do I put it on?
I'll use it as pepper, but it's really good on wild game or any red meats.
Okay.
Just roasted vegetables. Like I said, it is a good source of protein, so it's a good thing to add if you're not eating meat to put on your veggies. Good like that. I make Dijon mustard with it, which is really nice. Gives it a really nice flavor. Put it in my bread dough sometimes, which gives it a nice peppery flavor as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my question is, how long or how much work goes into making just one of these? Like how much do you have to harvest
Fair bit, yeah.
to make just that?
They're only like little tiny. They look like peppercorns, you know.
Just like it's super small, and then when you dehydrate it gets smaller.
Yep.
So, is this like if you harvest a bunch of these, is it like a basket and it gets condensed down to that?
It's definitely a lot. It's definitely a lot more than that for sure. But I'm not sure the ratio. But I mean, but in one regards, they're so plentiful. Like alder is probably one of the easiest plants to find. It grows on the roadsides, and you clear a piece of land, it's going to come back. Alders are going to come back, try to nitrate the land.
Yeah.
So they're very easy to get, and each plant can have tons and tons of these. But yeah, it takes a long time. I actually pick them with butter and sugar in a jar in my pocket because your hands get so full of resin they start sticking together. So you got to, it's non-water soluble, like a cooking oil or something to wash the resin off, and then you keep picking. But yeah, so it's a lot of work, and it's cold. Like this time of year, you're picking it, and it's cold, so it's hard on the hands. Can't wear gloves when you're picking. They're so tiny.
How much?
Yeah, but like go back to your other question. It's not really in my head. It's like, man, I'm finally get out after a few weeks off and go outside again and picking something. So the amount of work that goes into it is kind of like not registering in my head a little bit, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Everything I do, like if I were doing this, I'd think, okay, I need this much. I need to pick this many pounds or kilograms or whatever to make one of these. And I can do this in X amount of time. So I need to do this. I need to pick this much in an 8-hour period to get this. And then that, like, I would just analyze it way too much. But you're just like, man, life's awesome. Just picking.
Pretty much, man. Like, I get out and
I'm so jealous of that,
you
actually.
pick as much as your hands stop moving because, like I said, it's pretty cold.
Right.
But I'm actually shipping it out to Ontario to a wild food company as well. So
nice.
I'm picking a lot of it.
So what would you sell both of these products for? How much?
The pepper's 15 and the chunks of chaga is 15 too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. And the chaga is, like I said, is pretty delicious stuff, and I recommend. Like you were saying, you had a bit of a cold last week.
Yeah, it's still on the lungs.
Yeah, man, this will help. Like it's one of the highest antioxidants you can get from any food, if not the highest. I feel really good all the time when I'm drinking it. But the thing about it, you got to drink it every day. Like a lot of people will try it and they'll try it once and be like, man, that didn't do anything for me. But I challenge someone, like if someone's at the market and they've never tried before, be like, drink this every day for a week and I swear you'll start getting out of bed easier. You know, when I go a few days without it, I'm like, why does it suck to get out of bed? But this is just so good for your inflammation that it's...
So 1 glass a day, you recommend?
I drink about 2 glasses a day. They say to drink 1 to 2 glasses a day. But like this one pack will last a full month.
Okay.
So each chunk, you boil in about a liter of water and you boil it down to half. So you do it on a medium simmer, sorry. So it takes a good 45 minutes to an hour to get it to just turn really black. You want it to turn black, but the lower and slower you do it is better.
Okay.
So, but every day you can reuse your same chunk. So you get about 4 or 5 boils out every chunk, and then it'll stop wanting to turn the water really dark, and you know it's time to use another chunk.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
A liter of water.
Yep.
Put it on the stove, low simmer.
Yep.
Wait till you got about a half liter of water.
Yeah, you reduce it to about half.
It's real dark.
Gets real dark. That's the thing. You want it to get like a coffee black. Yeah.
So what do you do with the chunk then? Then
And
take
you
it,
just
wrap
leave.
it up?
Well, my wood stove's always going this time of year,
Yeah.
so I just leave it on the wood stove, and every time it gets low, I just top it up. But if you're gonna make it every morning, you just take it out of your pot and just leave it out on the counter or on a little bowl or something like that. Next morning, just repeat the same process.
Okay.
Or you could do, a lot of people like making especially if you like it cold like I do.
Yeah.
You can make a big batch in a slow cooker. So like you put 3 or 4 chunks in, and you up to 3 liters, and you boil it down for a few hours, and then you got your week's worth of.
That's not a bad idea.
Tea. No, man.
Get the slow cooker out.
Yeah, it's good stuff too, man. I really like it. I use it a lot in my maple syrup too when I'm making maple syrup.
Okay.
So I'll take a chunk and I'll just put it in the boiling process, and I'll take it out at the end, and it makes the maple syrup taste like vanilla. It's incredible.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. 2 more questions.
Yeah.
And then many more. But this isn't just chaga. You've got honey in here.
Just honey, yeah. Just local honey and chaga.
So you just put like a teaspoon of honey in, or just
Yeah.
to taste or whatever?
Yeah, just to taste. Like, I'm not a big measurements guy, but
Yeah.
I'll just, like, I did boiled down about 2 liters today, and I just put like a big Tonkin tablespoon in the tea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the other question, I feel like I'm burning through questions. But
No, it's all good.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
Yeah.
It's so interesting.
I got a lot too. Keep going.
Yeah. How did you, and I think I probably know your answer, but how did you learn how to make a lot of the stuff that's in your book? And every time I see it at the farmer's market, you're like, hey, Ryan, try this thing on a stick. And I'm like, I don't know, Shawn, it doesn't look too great. And then I eat it, I'm like, what am I eating? This is so good. It's amazing. And you're like, yeah, just do this, this, this. I'm like, how did you figure that out?
Well, a lot of people think all these wild foods are just for a long time famine foods, but some of them are better than what we're buying at the grocery store. So like a lot of things you don't even need to do that much to it. But like there are some things like Japanese knotweed, for example. When I first started reading about that years ago, they were saying pick the shoots from about 15 centimeters tall and treat them like asparagus, steam them, or fry them up. And I did that and tasted nothing like asparagus. It was awful to me. I was like, this one's terrible. And then I seen a recipe online. You go through all these rabbit holes looking at recipes about lacto-fermenting the Japanese knotweed.
Right.
And lacto-fermenting is a pretty simple process where you're just fermenting something with salt. So it's like actually the easiest form of pickle. You just put 1 tablespoon of salt in 1 cup of water, dissolve it, pack your jar with whatever you're doing, dandelion buds, Japanese knotweed, and you pour the solution over, and then it starts to ferment. So every day, just like kimchi, you open it up and burp out, let the gases out. About 3 or 4 days, it'll be all fermented, and then you can bottle it and put it in your fridge. But then the knotweed, when I did this process, tasted just like asparagus. So it's like, it's like the creativity of go back to what I was saying about foraging makes you a very creative cook. So I've never gone to the grocery store and bought something and said, oh, I can't wait to lacto ferment this. But like by out foraging, and like I said, you have an association. There's a story with what you just picked now. You have a direct association with it. So you're like, man, I can't wait to do something cool like this. So yeah, really, once you're out harvesting your own food and when you're trying to make it like your main diet, it really causes you to do some really unique and awesome stuff.
Yeah.
So it just gets you outside the box, and
I feel that everything you tell me about has a process to it, like a multiple day process. You gotta make a solution, put it in a bottle, let it out, or then there's this.
Not
like,
that much science to it.
But it really feels like it as an outsider.
Yeah, but I think
you've got all the.
I know what you mean.
Like
it can feel there's so much, so it feels so overwhelming. It's like, but you just take it one step at a time. Like when I'm talking to people who just wanting to get into foraging, they find it daunting. And just start with dandelions in the spring. Just like there's so many ways to use a dandelion, from the root to the greens to the buds to the flower. It's like just start with that, and you'll realize, wow, I made like 8 different things, and I got preserves from this one plant, and it's only the middle of May. So it's like, and it's like, I know it seems like a lot, but most of it's quite simple. I mean, if it was really hard and scientific, I wouldn't do it.
I just
it's not me,
I just picture your kitchen like a science lab, and there's jars of things, and things are boiling on the stove for days, and
there's a bit of that for sure.
It reminds me of that wizard from Lord of the Rings. The one who's like squirreled away, and
I'm a bit of a hobbit, definitely. Yeah, I can associate with that.
There's one wizard though. You kind of look like you got the beard going on. What is his name? He's the one that has like the rabbit. And he's going on.
I actually raise rabbits, so
yeah, it's perfect. So Shawn, you have another book coming out. Or if Ryan ruined the episode with his comment.
No,
sorry.
Once he gets to chugging, there'll be no more of that.
I want to quickly reference something.
Yep.
Just maybe do your question over.
Where is it? I think it's right in the beginning. So you have another book coming out, and it's all about mushrooms.
Yep.
I was surprised that there wasn't any mushrooms in this book, but then I realized, we probably have so many mushrooms here in Newfoundland that you could make your whole book out of it. And that's when I found out that you're making a book.
And when I first started the idea about this book, like I was saying before, the chefs kind of inspired me to do this, because I started doing these foragers dinners with chefs, where a restaurant asked me to go out and pick a bunch of wild food, and then they would create a menu from that food.
So who did that with you?
I've done tons with a lot of restaurants over the years, but the first one I ever did was with the Boreal Diner out in Bonavista, the first year they opened.
Yeah.
And the first time I did that, I had such a great experience, and I thought it was so cool that they wanted to do this.
I can see tourists loving that.
Oh yeah, for sure. But the anytime we did it was mostly all locals. But yeah, they totally would. And when I did this dinner and I seen like what they made from it, Sylvie Midford was the chef. Is the chef, and she did such a beautiful job with it. Just I was like, man, this could be a sweet book. Like, you know, you're going out and doing what I do and collect all these things, and then you get a recipe from a chef, put it together in a book, and you know, all of a sudden it's not like it's a pretty easy way to want to cook some of this stuff. Like, geez, I had this down at the Nook and Cannery or Raymond's, and then you got the chef there showing you how to, or with a recipe, how to do it.
Yeah.
So
very cool.
I went to the publisher and I gave him that idea. I mean, I barely read a book in my life, and then I offered to write a book, and he was like, "Oh yes, for sure." So I convinced I convinced the guy to let someone write a book that, you know, I barely read books, so I was like, yeah, and he was all about it, and it took me a long. It took about over 4 years to do it, but yeah, just the idea of that came into my head from doing the work with the chefs. So yeah, it just kind of organically happened, but I think it's so cool that they inspire me to do it for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I was looking through it today, and it's very user friendly for somebody who's never foraged, other than like blueberry picking, as you say.
Yep.
I was really surprised at how easy it was for someone to pick up, and I love that you've got it broken up into the flowers, leaves, needles, roots, shoots, stems, and then seeds and fruit. And then I realized where are mushrooms too? And is the reason you left mushrooms out because they deserve a whole book of their own?
Yeah, for sure. I originally was planning on doing in this book, and once I started getting into it, and I was just like, I really think mushrooms deserve the respect of its own book like this with the recipes. And there's a really good Newfoundland mushroom book. It's the little illustrated book of wild mushrooms by Andres Fodig, but it's no recipes. It's not as easy to read as that. So yeah, I just really wanted to do a one for mushrooms in that same type of way as this one. Yeah.
And when do you think your new book about mushrooms will be out?
It's supposed to be out last year, but again, it takes me a lot of time. It's pretty hard for me to get from what's up here down here. So it takes a while, but I think I'm about 85% done now, so I should have it done by the end of winter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's another aspect of your business. So you've got the products that you're selling that you go out and you forage for yourself, and then you sell those, and then you've got your books, or a book, and now another book coming out. How else do you make money from what you're doing?
The workshops, the foraging tours, like taking people out and showing them what to eat and what not to eat. The restaurants, the farmers market, I'm there, especially in season, I'm there every Saturday. Food festivals like Roots, Rants, and Roars is a really big one for me every year, where I'll supply all the food for that festival. And I actually, when I got involved with that one, they were buying a lot of stuff from distributors and like Costco and things like that. And I was like, because it's the middle of September, like this can be all local. So I went around and I went to all my friends, the farmers, and I ordered all the stuff for the whole festival from local ingredients that the chefs wanted. And that became a thing. And then every year, I think that was 8 years ago, and every year Roots is almost 100% local now. So that's a big thing. I do a lot of stuff on the West Coast with the West Coast Environment Center. Last year I did a lot of workshops and tours for them. So whatever comes my way, man, just whether it be education or serving the restaurants or the public. Like when I first started this, the restaurants were like the only ones willing, because the chefs kind of had some ideas what to do with these things. But now I notice like people at the market, like the public, have tried these things at restaurants, and it's becoming, like you said, wind and foraging become cool. So it's becoming an Instagram cool thing. So people want to cook with this, and people just want to cook with what's in their region too, which I don't think we didn't think about for a long time. So
I think it was a whole educational thing. I'll be honest, I would have never foraged. I picked berries, blueberries, especially in Newfoundland. I would have never drank something like this in my life if I've never met you.
Well, I'm glad
this
that
is,
you have.
Like this is so cool. So I think it's an educational piece, and once people, and like me, people probably looked at it and were like, "Ooh, what's that?" And then,
Totally.
but if you're open-minded enough to try it, and I like to think I was, because I was kind of like, every time, like I said, you would be like, "Hey Ryan, try it," but now when you do that, I'm like,
less hesitant.
I'm less hesitant because the first few times I was really impressed. Every time you get me to try something, it's kind of like, that seems strange, but it's always so good.
And I think Newfoundland in Newfoundland in general, we were pretty a stubborn place for a long time. You know, we just cook what we knew and eat what we knew. But just the amount of people that moved to Newfoundland the last decade, like I think we're a lot more open minded now. You know, just the amount of people that moved. Like I always say, I've never heard of curry when I was a kid. I never heard of it my whole life. Now I eat it a couple times a week.
Right.
So like, you know, that's just from people moving here and opening our eyes that, you know, there's a lot more ingredients we could be eating and a lot of different ways we could utilize it. So
So I'm a little all over the place with my questions. You mind if I go in for another one?
Go.
I'm really curious about. I'm sure you have your specific locations. You know where to go. Get this. Get that. Get the other thing. What about farming for the products that are in demand for the restaurants that you supply? Like whatever it is that is in the most demand. Would you ever consider farming it on a small scale?
Well,
do you?
I have, like, when I first started going to the restaurants, I was going with my tomatoes and peppers and things like that. So I got to meet them a lot that way, and I got to realize that, oh geez, there's a want for mushrooms by some of these chefs. So it kind of happened that way. But the more and more that it's taken off, like the less farming every year I farm less stuff. Like now I'm mostly into just growing things for myself. And perennials, like things that are going to come back every year, like berries and lots of fruit trees and things like that. So I'm working on a food forest now the past couple of years. So that's I'm still into it for sure. But the more my life just shifted, the more people started wanting to use these things that used to be so weird. That it's coming, like, you know, it's coming an easier way to make a living at it also because there's more demand. You know?
Do you think it would be complicated to grow or farm Newfoundland blueberries? Is that like the wild blueberries that we pick? Is it possible to farm them?
Yeah, there's a lot of people do, like Brown's Family Farm and Walsh's. They're all, I'm pretty sure, wild blueberries. So I think it's if you're going to do a blueberry farm, you're probably going to pick an area that already is got blueberries on it. But that being said, I mean, you cut a pole line and then a couple of years later it's full of blueberries. So there's ways to do it, but I don't know too much about that myself. So
So with foraging then, how far do you venture to forage the things that you need to forage? Is it all in your backyard, or do you?
Like a lot of it is, like, depends. Like the spring with the invasive species, you don't really, every community's pretty much got nettles and dandelion. I spend a lot of time next to the coastal areas in the spring because they're always a lot earlier. It's the first place you'll see is nettles and dandelions and all these things are going to come up there first. So I do spend a lot of time in the coastline, like in early in the spring. But just what we're drinking now, the chaga, I was out in Central 2 weeks ago, pick it. So depends what you're talking about. Like I spend a lot of time on the West Coast.
Where does this grow?
So it only grows on old growth birch, which we don't
birch.
have here anymore. So it's you got to get in pretty far to get. The Avalon has very little old growth birch stands.
Yeah.
So it's all been cut down for firewood and stuff like that. So I'll go to Central and West Coast to pick that one.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you do have to go. So you'll forage everywhere on the island.
Yeah. I spend a lot of time on the West Coast. Like I do a lot of camping as well. I'm gonna go to the West Coast for one of these workshops. Like with WBC, I'll come back with a carload of whatever I can get on the West Coast as well. So
Making your trip worth it.
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So this summer I did a lot of it. Like I think I was six or seven times on the West Coast.
Yeah.
So it depends what it is. Like, you know, you can't get lobster mushrooms here in the Avalon, but they grow really well in Central. So I'm out there a lot in that time of year. This time of year I'm out in Central a lot. And me and my buddy do a lot of winter camping when we're out picking the chaga. So, which I love. Like it's so nice to get out and get camping in the winter. So it depends what you're talking about.
Tell us more about that. How do you camp in the winter? You tent?
Yeah,
You just got the right gear and
Not even, man. Just
No?
like just dig out a spot in the snow, fill it with boughs, set up a tent, and you're so tired. We're out snowshoeing, picking the chaga, so you're so tired when you come back and you have and cook up a bit of moose stew or something that you're in bed by like 8 o'clock, no matter how cold it is. But
right.
yeah, it's just wearing the right gear. So yeah.
What's been the most surprising environment where you found something edible?
It's a good question.
Oh, I know. I want to be
Yeah.
like, it's a good question. It's a
Yeah.
good question.
I mean, just the best answer to that is food is everywhere. Like, honestly, anywhere you can go, if it's an urban setting, if it's the forest, if it's the coastline, you can find food. But yeah, I don't
You have to think on it.
Yeah,
Get back to
that's
us.
a thinker. Yeah, for sure.
You stumped him.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I've always been curious. I imagine, Newfoundland is known for being a bit harsher. But when I was going through your book, I was thinking there's food everywhere. We just don't know how to
totally.
identify it.
Yeah, even the ocean, cook them with seaweed. Like, it's a pretty wild spot to get out and grab a salad, but you're getting taking off your pants and go walking into the water and getting seaweed. I mean, you only want to cut it fresh off the rocks because if it's coming up on the beach, it could be in the ocean forever before it ever came up on the beach. So you really want to get things fresh. So yeah, like there's some pretty wild spots. Even, I mean, 2 weeks ago I was about 40 feet up in a birch tree after a big piece of chaga that we couldn't walk past. So
40 feet up.
Yeah, man.
In a birch tree. How did you get 40 feet up in the air?
Climbed it, man. Yeah. And it's hard, and the birch trees, a lot of the moose got all the lower branches eaten. So my buddy Neil, who comes with me, he'll boost me up to the furthest branch I can get, and then from there it's all climbing.
Just no rope.
No.
We might not be inspiring a lot of entrepreneurs to get into foraging, but
But
I think I want to pick it up.
Yeah, you definitely want to be safe at it. But a lot of times we won't go for a piece that high. But that was a big, beautiful piece. So
You just spotted it. You couldn't.
yeah, we
Couldn't
couldn't walk
resist.
past it. So yeah, it's a good question, but in all types of weird, unexpected spots, you're gonna find food.
How many species of mushroom do you think we have in the province that are edible?
That's a
How many
hard
are not?
question, but we did a foray. Did you ever hear of the Newfoundland foray?
Mm-hmm.
Something that we do every year, and mycologists are flown in to specialize in certain mushrooms, and anyway, they sell tickets on it. It's a social science experiment where you go out and you pick all the mushrooms you see, like every mushroom you see, and you take it back, and the experts help you identify it, and that's what way they find out what mushrooms grow here on the island, because they got a big category of what they pick every year.
Cool.
And every year they're finding new species. But there's one
Really?
year, there's one year we did one out in Salmon Air. It wasn't even a really great mushroom season, but I think we picked 1,800 different mushrooms, and we ate 8 of them.
Wow.
So it's just to put in perspective, very
1,800.
few of them are edible.
1,800.
Yeah, 1,800. Yeah.
You
But
ate 8?
and we could eat 8 of
Wow.
the.
That's how many different types of species there are in Newfoundland.
No, there's way more than that. That was just that season, what we found in that area. Every year, every 2 years, they do them in a different spot on the island, so they're not just going to get the same data.
This is blowing my mind. I
Yeah,
would have
it's
been
a
like,
really cool
I would have
thing.
like, yeah, there's a couple dozen species. Maybe.
No, but
I
in the
guess.
book
yeah.
now, I think I'm covering about 32 different edible mushrooms.
Okay.
But there's more. It's just,
And your
Do
favorite
we
is?
have Amnesquita muscaria?
Oh yeah. I mean,
We do.
That's the
That's the Christmas mushroom.
Oh, yeah?
Christmas one. Here it's not red though. In Europe they're red. Here
Oh.
they're orange, yellowish orange.
Okay.
So they're one of the most common mushrooms we have.
I think I
Yeah.
just, now that you re-described it, I think I just saw one of those on Bell Island a little while ago.
Oh yeah, man, they're super common. I actually love seeing them because to me they're a good indicator that king boletes, my favorite mushroom, the porcini, they grow in the same area and they fruit the same time as Amanita muscarias. So like whenever I see them, I do an extra double take, make sure there's no kings around.
And what does the king look like?
King porcini is like, it's that famous Italian mushroom. Looks like a sponge underneath it. It's a type of bolete. And boletes are a huge family where they don't have gills; they have pores. So
Okay.
it's a I have to show you a picture or a specimen to show you exactly what it was. But my favorite mushroom is just the tastiest mushroom.
Really?
Yeah,
So how do you cook it? What do you put it in?
and they're really good in pastas. They're just good. A lot of mushrooms just good on toast. Good with a steak, just a nice cut of.
Yeah.
Like I sell a lot of mushrooms to Anderson's down there, and we do a barter system where I give them the mushrooms, they'll give me meat. So like
Nice.
always, oh man, I love it. It's the best.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So just I love cooking a good porcini with just a nice, really nice steak.
Yeah.
So in those edible 8 or the edible mushrooms, the 32 that you have in your book, are any of them hallucinogenic?
No. Yeah.
So you put that into the non-edible category?
You wouldn't technically call that edible then.
Right.
You know?
Well,
Why are you asking, Michael?
well, I'm curious.
That
you
being
know?
said, I've eaten lots of those, but no, I'm not covering the
Accidentally,
mushrooms in
you've
the
eaten
book.
a lot of those.
So if we do have mosquito,
No.
if we do have hallucinogenic mushrooms here,
Yeah.
how do we go about identifying? Are you including some of those in your book in a different category and
No,
saying,
it's just not like my interest is largely food. Like I want to show people how much out there is there to eat. Like we don't have to rely on getting food from other provinces at all. If everybody gets into it and do it in a sustainable way, like everybody can go out and harvest their own food. We're so lucky to live in Newfoundland. Sorry, what was the question? I trailed off.
we were talking about I guess to rephrase it, is there any way to identify what mushrooms are hallucinogenic?
Right. Yeah. Newfoundlanders there's no tradition of us picking wild mushrooms, culinary mushrooms to cook, but even my dad is always talking about magic mushrooms. So it's like we've always picked Liberty caps, which grow in the cow fields, and for whatever reason, Newfoundlanders always had a good grasp on magic mushrooms. So there's for people that didn't cook with them, they're okay with eating them and tripping out on them and a farmer's cow field. So yeah, that's just a thing. There's the Liberty caps is like the biggest one that I would know of here that you can consider magic mushroom, but even the fly agarics, like the amanitas, a lot of people will use those, but I've never experimented with those. But so it's just not my field, Even though I've probably ate my weight in magic mushrooms when I was a kid, but no, it's just I'm more focused on the culinary aspect. Yeah.
Right.
Now I do. I think it's awesome that people are now experimenting with them for microdosing and depression and things like that. But like I said, I've eaten so many of them. I got no interest in hallucinating anymore.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
I'm curious about, I'm just thinking about what some viewers might have questions about. What do you say in the run of a day? What's the average amount of food that you eat that you foraged versus what you bought at a grocery store? Would you say 50% of everything you eat you foraged? The other 50s?
Depends what time of year. I mean, there was a time when I was raising my own chickens, and I mean, I've raised pigs quite a few times over the years. So there's some years where I'm really trying to stay away from the grocery stores.
Yeah.
Even now, like in the winter, I'm always famous for just eating what's in my freezer and cupboards and stuff. So I'm really trying not to go to the grocery store that much. I'm fortunate enough to have a good hookup on moose and starting to do a bit of ice fishing now and stuff like that. So I'm always conscious to try not to go to the grocery store as much as possible. But
is there anything that you do go to the grocery store
cat
for?
food, yeah,
Cat food.
yeah. But
cat won't
no,
forage?
I don't have chickens now, so I'm going up the road. I'm living up in Cape Royal these days, so I'm buying eggs all the time, and I love oat milk in my coffee, so I'm like buying that stuff. But mostly I got a lot of stuff put away from last season, so I try to go there as very little as possible.
I feel like it's your approach to food is maybe an old-fashioned lost art.
Yeah.
I feel that my parents told me about their parents, how they lived, how they grew their own food. They grew their own food, or they hunted it.
Yep.
And that's.
I think it took it was only one generation of processed food that kind of threw all that in a loop,
Yeah.
So like my parents' generation mostly just ate processed food. It's but like you said, they're talking about their grandparents that had to go out and hunt and fish. Like the food wasn't coming in on the island like it was. So I think there's a bit of resurgence. People are trying to, especially with the cost of food, the interest. Yeah. This year I noticed so many more people than I did in years on the side of the road picking berries with their family. I really think people are getting back into thinking about, I don't want to rely on the ferries coming in and all that thing. So it was a loss there, 100%, man. The processed food just ruined it.
Yeah.
So
I guess the 50s. is when things started to turn, and the Industrial Revolution and that whole era of manufacturing and convenience started to.
But it's actually more convenient to go like into spring and summer to, like, if I need some salad greens, it's way more convenient to go in my backyard or just next to the ocean or anywhere at all. Go up to the farmer's field and ask them if you can harvest some of their weeds, like, which I do all the time. So it's actually more convenient to go do that than go to Costco, which you couldn't pay me to go to Costco, man. Like I'm not an anxious person, but that gives me anxiety thinking about going in a big warehouse full of processed food where everyone's banging into each other, and it seems like a nightmare to me.
Yeah, I can see that.
So just the little amount I can go to the grocery store, the better. Like, I hate even walking in those crappy lights. I just don't feel comfortable in there.
Right.
And I don't think we should. I mean, we need it, I know, for lots of things, but I think people are starting to wake up to it again.
Yeah.
That there's a lot of food out there, and we can grow. It's been a thing where so many people say it's so hard to grow things in Newfoundland. It's actually not. It's about what you choose to grow.
Right.
Like, obviously, you're not going to go plant an orange tree out in your yard, but, I mean, there's so many things that work so well here.
Right.
So it's about focusing on those.
Mm-hmm. I want to go back to the question that I asked you before, where I said it was a two-parter. So I guess to break it down...
Easy to trail off at this stuff, eh?
Yeah. We're having such a good time.
Yeah, totally.
So I guess I'll rephrase the question, and I'll ask the second part as well. So my question is foraging unpredictable? And then if it is unpredictable...
That was a good question.
How do you structure your business around that?
Yeah, it is very unpredictable. Like last year, July, we had no rain. So, like, it was the worst chanterelle season I've seen in maybe 10 years. So, you have to switch gears, So, it's like I was going out to a different part of the island where things were growing a little bit better. So, I was, when I'd probably be spending a lot more time picking chanterelles. I was out picking a lot of lobster mushrooms. Okay. So, I kind of, like, switched gears and it's been a long time since I picked bake apples because they're out at the same time as chanterelles. I'll pick some for myself, but years ago I used to go mad picking bake apples. But now I'd rather just go pick chanterelles than sit in a bog and get eaten by deer flies and pick one bake apple at a time. But this year I did because it was really dry on the chanterelles. So, there's some things that aren't going to do good, but there's some things that do better in other places of the island. And there's a lot of microclimates. Like a lot of people with the dry July this year, it made the blueberries crop really small and bad. But there's microclimates, I was out in Avondale picking blueberries big as kind. So, it's really just not relying on just one spot and one thing. And, but some seasons are a lot more lucrative than others as well.
Right.
But those seasons, back when wasn't as much demand in the educational side. So, teaching people, if it's not, don't have to rely on just picking the food. I can go out and do workshops and tours and things like that. And in the winter time, around Christmas, I switch gears again when the food dries up, and I'll do the wreath making workshops where I teach people how to go out and forage to make Christmas wreaths to put on their doors. So, it's just, you work pretty hard and get pretty creative when you don't want to work a job. Like, you don't want to work a 9 to 5 like me. You're working, 7 in the morning till 8 at night. Like, it's just,
right.
Yeah.
So what about November? Last November, when it just rained.
Yeah, that November was awesome.
Yeah, that was
great
good.
year. Lots of great fall mushrooms. A lot of the fall mushrooms here always seem to do really good because our falls are pretty wet. So I'm happy to go out in the rain, man. I'm picking winter chanterelles and hedgehogs.
You didn't complain about the rain?
No, no, especially after the July we had. I was complaining about the too much sun a little bit because it was drying things up. But the rain, no, man.
So everybody hated November, and you're just kind of
it was great.
Frolicking in the fields.
Yeah, no, man.
Love it.
Yeah. And you're not relying on a paycheck at the end of the week. You're not gonna sit home and wait for the rain to stop. Like, it's just not even.
No,
in my head.
I'm just.
Yeah. No, but you're right. I actually love November.
No, everybody was so depressed and was like, "Oh my God, it's still raining."
Yeah.
You're loving it.
Yeah.
Sean, we have a recurring segment on the show where we ask our guests to provide an actionable takeaway for our viewers. So something that you do in your life that you think other people can learn from or benefit from. What is it that you do every day that you think somebody could learn from?
It's also a really great question.
Stop stumping them.
Just what we've been talking about, the food sovereignty thing, like not relying on food to get here from other places. Like I really, that's what I love when I see people that are, they got into foraging and say, hey man, I got into this, seeing you doing it on Instagram, whatever, and now me and my family are out doing it, my kids. So like I love that. So that's what I would like people to do more, is just to not rely on, not to panic about all this tariffs and I know it's bad because a lot of people are going to lose jobs, but like, and ferries when they don't come in, and be like, I'd love to see everyone have a bit of food in their freezer to get them through the winter, and it's just, not to rely on things that don't come from Newfoundland so much. I would love to see
foraging.
That. Yeah.
So if somebody wanted to be a forager, and
It's an easy thing to be, man. Yeah.
you say that,
Yeah, it is.
but I feel like
You just got to get that daunting, overwhelming thing out of your head. It's like,
And have
when in
Sean's
doubt,
book
don't
handy.
put it in your mouth. Just remember that at all times.
Yeah. But if you wanted to forage every day,
Yeah.
so if someone wanted to be just like Shawn,
Wouldn't recommend that in all aspects, but to being out getting your own food for sure.
but do you think there's anybody out there? I'm sure there's some people out there like that are similar to you and love the land, love to forage, love to be outside, love to be picking berries and other things, and their parents are probably just looking at them like, you can't make a living at that. Like,
Oh man, I went through that myself.
yeah.
Like, really,
So that's kind of where I was going.
Yeah.
What was when you decided that this is what you're going to do, this is how you're going to earn a living? Was there pushback? Were people from your family, your parents,
Oh, totally.
siblings, or like,
always like,
what are you doing? Are you crazy?
Are you going to get an actual job? I mean, university was never anything that came into my mind. I knew that I wasn't cut out for that, and I didn't want to do it. So yeah, I did get a lot of pushback, but if you do what you love and love what you do, like, I did get a lot of pushback from my parents about stuff like that, but my dad was also beating in my head. If you find a job you love, you never work a day in your life.
Right.
So like, he's a bit contradicting in that way. But I was like, man, I did find something I love to do more than anything, and I'm doing it every day. And like you asked me before, it doesn't feel like I get up to go to work every day.
Right.
So like, maybe it doesn't have to be just foraging, but if that does make you happy, like, just try it. Like, get out there and maybe it seems pretty nervous. You're not gonna. Maybe I wouldn't recommend just quitting your job right away and doing it, but like, feel out if there's a passion you want to do and you've always been afraid to try it. Just really give it a go. Like, what's the worst that can happen?
Have you ever been out to the Tree of Life and done
No,
a
I
seminar
haven't.
out there?
No.
I think that this is be something that would go really nicely what they have going on out there.
Yeah, I've met him at a couple of workshops over the years and things, but I'm willing to do. Sounds like they got a pretty cool thing going. So
Absolutely.
yeah, totally.
If you're not familiar with it, are you?
I'm not. No.
I think they must have more than 8 acres of land out there.
It's on Salmoneer, right?
Yeah, Salmoneer Nature, like around Salmoneer Nature Park area. And it's this beautiful spot that they've built everything basically by hand. It's all off grid. They've got beautiful land that you can walk. You can walk out to a waterfall. They do certain types of retreats. I did an enlightenment intensive retreat where for 4 days we had no access to the outside world. Our cell phones were put away. We weren't even allowed to read. Like, if there was posters on the wall, we weren't supposed to read anything.
Really?
And then for 8 hours a day for 4 days, we would sit across from one other person and we would ask the same question for those 8 hours. And it was just one question for the 4 days. And I chose the question, who am I? And then other people have, what am I? And what is love? And I think there's 2 other questions that were a bit more advanced. And you go a little crazy when you're just being asked that one question for 8 hours a day.
Sounds like
and then
it.
you're not even allowed to talk to anybody outside of these dyads, is what it's called. And you just kind of open up about the most personal things to complete strangers. And anyway, what I'm trying to say is it's a beautiful experience. And I think what you do would go really nicely with what they have on the go out there as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure. I mean,
Yeah.
just getting people out of that, that routine and doing something like that is pretty healthy. I would think.
Yeah, it was great. If somebody wants to book a tour with you, how do they do it?
I am the most unorganized person you ever meet. So I when I was first started, I was doing it on my own a bit, and during the pandemic, I was living down at my friend's bed and breakfast where I was helping her run that. We were doing them on my own. I was doing the bookings and stuff, and just make me lose my mind. Just I'm really not logistically good like that, so I do them with Murray's, do them with other people that are doing that. So I do them with Murray's, where they'll take all the bookings and all that stuff. So you just contact Murray's Garden Center.
Okay.
And we start usually mid to the end of May. And this year I'm doing them also on the Southern Shore with Fork Restaurant out there.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll be doing some up there, and on the West Coast again with WEC. So contact any of those guys, or if another business, and a lot of these places have like insurances for workshops and events and stuff. So kind of just go with them. So make sure you're covered and all that stuff. So yeah, just I'm the food man, but I'll let someone else do the answering emails and taking,
That's smart.
Yeah,
So this
I'm
is
just
gonna
I
be-
don't I've learned that, man. There's lots of stuff I don't excel in, and I'm trying to
That's actually a strength in business,
That's
is to
a
identify where you're
very
weak
big-
and then partner with somebody who's strong there.
Totally.
That's
yeah.
a very big.
So this episode
Strategic,
should air on the 11th of May, I believe, which sounds like it's great timing for
Oh,
your
man.
season to be opened
Yeah,
up.
perfect, man. May is like one of the best times for foraging, especially after a long winter and all these spring shoots. It's my favorite time. I'm getting excited just talking about it. So all these spring shoots will come up, like dandelions and nettles and fireweed and knotweed and all these things. There's all of a sudden there's nothing, and then there's so much spruce tips, all that stuff.
So walk us through a tour. Say Ryan and I and our kids, we sign up and we want to go and do this tour. Are we foraging for food, and then do we cook it up on the spot? What happens?
Did both, yeah. So just say we'll do at Murray's. So we'll start, and everyone will meet up at Murray's Garden Center and do a quick intro, and then I'll take them out and I'll show them around the garden center, which is more of the disturbed area. So that's what happens when you disturb a piece of land, and all these weeds and plants start coming back to try to replenish the land. So if you ever notice a gravel lot, you clear a gravel lot, and all of a sudden there's weeds, and then alders start coming up. All these things are there to replenish the land, to give it nitrogen and all the things it needs to turn it back into grass and then back into the forest. So they're actually taking a desolate piece of the land and rejuvenating it again. And that's why it's so good for us to eat all these things, because then we're getting all these nutrients throughout the season that are trying to come back and bring a piece of land that's scrubbed into a healthy forest again. So so we'll start there, and we'll go around the garden center where they've developed, and then we'll talk about all the things that are around there, and then we'll walk through the garden center up into the farm. They got a farm in the back at Murray's Meadows, and show you all the weeds that a lot of people probably have in their own flower beds and gardens and things like that. And then we'll walk through the woods and show them plants, berries, trees, all that thing. There's a lot of when you think about foraging, it's mostly berries and mushrooms comes to your head, but like the trees provide so much for us to eat as well. So we talk about that, and then we head back, and we got a little fire pit made where we'll all sit down and we'll just talk about everything we just seen, and a lot of people just open up about how cool it is to be out. Didn't realize how much food was around, and we'll just sit there and break bread and talk and fry up mushrooms. And in the spring we do a flatbread where everyone has a flatbread, and they'll put it on the fire, and we'll give you a nettle pesto, and we'll have a salad that we just pick from everything we just talked about, and the grounds. I do most of the cooking, and the grounds always does a real nice dessert of whatever's in season as well. So it could be pineapple weed popsicles or whatever's in season, so it's really cool, and everyone leaves like, man, I can't believe all that just came from there. It's like, that's my favorite part of doing it. People's minds are blown that you don't, a lot of old people at the market, when they'll see me, they'll be like, buddy's selling rabbit food, but like so much of it is so good, and then you come and do like the tour and what we've got prepared for you, and people are, that opens your eyes when you can eat, like you eat something that's tasty and delicious, and geez, I can do that at home. So
it sounds like this tour would be an introductory tour to foraging. Do you have something that's a little bit more advanced? Like you would go through tour 1, and then down the road you could do another or higher advanced level?
Not much, but it always changes so much. So like if you do it in the spring, we're picking spring shoots. If you do it in the fall, there's lots to talk about mushroom. We're out picking mushrooms. Really, I've seen same people at the tours each season. So it depends what time of year you do it, But no, it's not. It's kind of just like a one type. Anyone's
Yeah.
it's open. It's friendly to anyone, kids, any age.
I'm picturing in my head now like a TV miniseries where you go out and you kind of explain as much as you can about everything you come
Man, I've had
across.
for years. Everyone tell me to do YouTube accounts and stuff, but it just as far as I can go is go home, put a picture out, and
Well, you
do
need
that.
someone to do all the production for you, and then you
Oh,
just
if that was
have to
done,
do,
sure.
Yeah, you just
but-
have to do what you're good at.
Yeah,
And then I can do what I'm good at.
totally, man.
Yeah,
I've done some cool
this
stuff.
is starting to sound like a sales pitch.
I'm open to it. I've done some cool stuff. Like me and Mark McCrow did a really cool thing for Rogers. He got that Rogers television show. So he came down to my place and we picked a bunch of stuff and made a wicked meal. That came out really cool. And I did a thing with Mike Wall, Dr. Mike Wall, where we went out and I showed him all the stuff you could eat. And so yeah, man, I'm anyone ask me to do something like that, I'm open to it. Yeah, but that'd be cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd like it. Well, I'm wondering, as you said, the tours change up a lot, so you're never going to get the same tour even if you do it more than once.
Totally.
But then for people who really want to dive into it, and that's kind of my personality, when I get interested in something, I learn like 80% of what there is to learn about it, and then I'll go on to something else.
Yeah.
So I'd like to do a deep dive on foraging. And plus, my life is just kind of going in that direction. I want healthier food.
Yep.
It's just plain and simple. I want healthier food, and I think this is the way to get it. So yeah, I can see foraging becoming popular.
Even if you guys want to do this, what we're doing now, out and put our hands on it, then it's a lot less daunting. Like I see Ryan's he's like, there's a lot, like I want to do it, but it's so much. But if you get out and you just, we'll spend a day out at it, and we're talking about all this stuff as we're picking, as we're cooking. Just the more you do, the more comfortable you get. So
Let's bring the cameras out, do another episode in the field with Shawn, and do a cook up.
let's do it.
There's
man.
been so many.
Yeah.
There's been so many episodes of the podcast that are turning into like a TV show. It's already kind of shot like a TV show. Like we don't have podcast mics, we have shotgun mics. So if you were to look at the footage, it looks like an interview.
It does, yeah.
Right? It's not so much a podcast feel.
Yeah.
And we're shooting in TV quality production, so everything you
Oh
see.
man, it looks wicked. What you did with Adam from Outport Acres, like that was awesome.
And that being said, too, we try and make every episode better. So the first couple episodes were a little crude, but that's our whole motto: is taking action. Right? Just get started and then make it better as you go.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. No, I love the concept, man.
Yeah.
It's cool what you guys are
Appreciate that.
doing.
Yeah, and we've had some really interesting people. We just keep getting more interesting people. It's just a lot. There's so many interesting people that they're doing really unique things.
Totally. Newfoundland is full of creative people right now, man.
It is
There's
full.
so much going on.
So much talent here.
Yeah.
While we're on this topic, actually, usually after the cameras stop, we always ask our guest, who should we speak to next? But let's go right into that since we're here.
Oh man, I actually thought about something today. I was listening to CBC radio and they talk a lot about food sovereignty on CBC these days, man. And they interviewed. Do you guys know Josh Smee? He's the head of Food First NL.
No?
Yeah, he was on the radio today. Just man, he's such a good voice for food here in Newfoundland and eating from Newfoundland and just not having so many people challenged without food. So I'd say Josh Smee, he'd be from Food First NL. He'd be great.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you know him personally?
Yeah, he's
Okay.
just like Ryan. He comes by the market pretty much every weekend. And I got to know him through that way, and he was involved with the farmers market years ago too. But him and his family comes to the market every single weekend. Yeah.
Okay.
I think we've all kind of met through the market, which is really interesting.
Yeah, the farmers market is kind of cool like
It
that.
attracts a
Yeah.
good people, man, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have one more thing that Michael kind of touched on, but and it's kind of like a shameless self-promotion for you. If somebody wants to buy any of your product, what's the fastest, easiest way for them to get it? Because I'm thinking, to you in your mind, you keep saying, yeah, it's so easy, just go do it. But you have a whole lifetime of knowledge. And to someone like me, who's interested in eating more from land and foraging, but I'm so busy.
Yeah.
At the time
Totally.
to go do it,
I hear you 100%.
so I think
but
a lot,
like by even just coming and buying some and making that part of your diet, I think eventually you're like, oh, I'm out of that alder pepper now. I don't really like it, but
yeah,
you know what? I might take the kids out back and just grab a few and try it out. So like, I
Right.
think the more you make it a part of your life and your diet, might become just
yeah.
more of a thing. But like you said, shameless promotion.
Yeah.
It's a Saturday every weekend at the farmers market, and selling a lot of chaga right now, and it's cold and flu season, so great time to get into it.
Cool.
Just dropped a bunch off at Simply for Life up on Stavanger Drive.
Okay.
The restaurants are a great place to support me and support local, just by
Yeah.
going to restaurants like Tier and Portage and Merchant and places like that. So that's support them. But yeah, just reach out to me too is probably the fastest way. Like,
How would you do that?
social media. So Instagram's pretty good.
Yeah.
Flossman Dandy Cabbage.
Flossman
yeah.
Dandy Cabbage.
Yeah, that's me.
Okay.
So you just find that. There's only one online. And
Yeah.
man, shoot me a message.
You never had trouble when you typed in that user handle that it was already taken?
It was not taken.
It was not-
Some surprisingly. Right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
mind blowing.
Yeah, I know.
The domain is probably available to the website. You might be able to get that one.
Go by before the show airs.
And my email is barkingkettle21@gmail.com. Yep. Really not the best for answering emails, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I could go like 2 weeks without doing it and then realize, oh shit. So I'm at the market pretty. I mean, you say my name 3 times, I'll appear. So you can try that too. But lost my dedication.
Say that 10 times.
Yeah, you can find me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it sounds like the farmer's market is probably...
Yeah, that's the best place.
So if you're busy, but you want to eat foraged food,
Yep.
come to the farmer's market on Saturdays, buy it from yourself, support you,
Yep.
and you're getting nice
Or even
locally
come by
foraged
and have a
food.
chat, man. If it's something that you want to do yourself, and like not trying to be
Yeah.
super shameless to be like only buy it for me. Like I love to see people out doing this themselves too. Like I'm I'm really jazzed on that as well.
Yeah.
So like years ago, I would never see people putting pictures online of them out picking nettles and stuff like that. But now I do. It's like more of a normal thing. So
It's cool. I told
yeah.
you.
Oh man.
You made it cool.
Yeah, it's cool. I don't know if I only made it cool, but I'm I tried to help for sure.
I think your name is now synonymous with foraging.
Cool. I never thought about that before, but
If,
that's cool. I
When
like
someone
that.
says foraging, I think Shawn.
You're definitely an expert in it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't think of
Yes.
anyone else to go to.
No.
It's funny that you can be an expert of something if you become so passionate about it, something you really love and you want to dedicate your life to it. You don't have to go and spend all this money on schooling and stuff, which in other occupation I'm sure you do, but like
Yeah.
if it's and like I was saying, if it's something that you want to get into, whether it's foraging or art or music, and you just don't have the time to try, just try to make a little bit of time, a couple hours a day, or just do it. Stop hesitating and just get out there and do it.
Right.
I think the safest place for anyone who's interested to start foraging would be to do one of your tours, and that's certainly what I'm
Yep.
going to do. I mean, you've got a couple great sayings. If when in doubt, don't put it in your mouth. And also, too, I haven't spoke on a quote that you're famous for, which is "Eat your weeds."
Yeah.
Why is it so important to eat your weeds?
Because they're everywhere, man. They're like eat your weeds is, they're healthy, they're abundant, and people hate them. They're called weeds, like it's so funny. I could get a kick out of people. Like I said, I always worked landscape and gardening when I was younger. It's people hate dandelions on their front lawn, and it's like I love in May, like this no mow May thing where you drive by and people the past couple of years are letting their lawns grow and letting the dandelions grow. It's becoming a bit more of a acceptable thing than having this stupid manicured lawn that you got to water even if we're having a drought and things like that. So yeah, eating your weeds is pretty important in a couple different ways. It's just switching gears of your mind that it's not a weed, it's a food source. So like even chickweed, which it goes through people's vegetable gardens and they hate it, it's so tasty. I don't think there's a better salad green than chickweed. So it's like it's just I think it's really important for us to eat our weeds.
Cool.
Appreciate it.
Is there anything else we need to go over?
No, I
Or
don't
talk
think so.
about? Go over like this is an exam.
No, I don't.
No,
think
man,
so.
I really felt like I was chilling. You guys are right.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's pretty laid
pretty
back.
easy and not don't feel very awkward or anything like that, which I can totally
Well,
can be. Yeah.
Michael did have a cursive written list of questions that he.
I always cursive write.
Oh, me?
It's because nobody else can read it. It's like it's encrypted.
I do a lot of cursive too.
I
They
can
don't
read
even
it,
teach it anymore.
Well, I think
Yeah.
they've actually gotten back to it now.
Have they?
Yeah, my
Cool.
daughter is. I always taught her anyway. I was like, "You're gonna learn how to cursive write. I don't care if they don't teach it in school." But yeah, they're redoing it now.
Okay, because like your signature is a pretty. It's part of your identity.
There's a whole
Yeah.
generation that don't know how to sign their name.
Yeah,
I work
right.
with a guy up away. He's
Yeah.
21. He's an electrician, and he just his signature is print.
Yeah,
Like,
man.
he doesn't know how.
It's pretty easy to mimic that too.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, kids don't know how to read a clock or like sign their names no more. So it's cool to hear that they're getting back into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Sean,
Yeah.
thank you so much
No
for
sweat.
being on the
Thank
show.
you.
This is awesome.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this
this was a lot of fun,
Yeah.
and thank you for the
Oh,
chat.
no sweat.
Yeah.